I was like, hey, well, here we go. And he zeroes in on me, and I tell him, man, I don't want to shoot you. I don't want to shoot you. And right after I said that is when he lunges at me. He makes just that last little effort that he's coming to me.
Hey, Blue Grit Podcast listeners, we're back this week. Your co-host Clint McNear and
Tyler Owen. Welcome back, by the way. I missed you.
I missed you.
You weren't able to make it. You had a meeting up in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex when we had the DA from Bexar County on, and
yeah,
I felt like my twin was gone.
Felt abandoned.
Kevin filled in. I mean, if I'm going to have anybody, or we're going to have anybody fill in, Kevin Lawrence to fill in to debate anybody would be the best one also. But it felt naked without you.
Felt alone.
Yeah, you're like my little security blanket.
Man, that means a lot.
It does. Before we get teary-eyed, before we jump into this, you guys hit that like button and subscribe button. But yeah, it's good having you back.
Like, subscribe, go to all the audio platforms. Give us a review. Give us a Google review or Amazon, whatever platform is your flavor of choice. Jump on there and give us a review if you don't mind, or hit it in the comments down below what episode. We had some cool feedback this morning from the last few episodes. People texting, sharing what their favorite episode has been so far. Shoot in the comments down below what your favorite episode is. And also, if you're watching one of our podcasts and there's some content that you want to take and share on your podcast or make your own, if you'll hashtag Blue Grit Podcast, use our material the way as you want to.
Yeah.
We don't mind.
Nope, we don't.
Who do we got on today?
Guess a pretty special guest, John Bellini, our board of directors of Tmpa, and he brought on a friend that we recorded during conference and had some difficulty. Laptop crashed, and just standard stuff that happens on the road. So, you guys, welcome to the Blue Grit Podcast, and I'll let you intro your guest. And man, welcome. This is your first time on.
Yes, sir. It is. Thank you.
What do you think?
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
What was your comment earlier?
Yeah, we're not going to say that right because I know where those get saved and they're going to be brought around later. And no.
Exactly. So.
Well, I brought Zane Daniel with me from San Angelo. We're both from San Angelo Police Department. I'm a sergeant down there, and Zane's a patrol officer. And he had a story to tell back at conference, and like you said, there was a little bit of a technical issue, and
it was fun.
It was fun. We had a great time.
Yeah, drinks were flowing, and it was a great story. So
anytime you can share an old fashioned and tell a story, it's not a bad day.
Yeah. And it was actually, we stayed, for those that know me and Clint on a personal level, we were drinking and having a good time as every conference, and it stayed professional, right? I mean, we have a good balance of doing that. I didn't have any Angels envy. I'll throw that out there for those that know that story. But
and John's not just a sergeant San Angelo PD. You're also regional director on Tmpa board.
Yes, sir. This is my second year now.
Nice.
I thought it'd been longer than that.
Well, I've been hanging around for a long time.
But you're like the hang around. So
he got patched in. He finally got patched in a couple years ago.
I went to every board meeting the year before I ran to kind of make sure that I was prepared for the position, and so I went to all the board meetings on my own dime, and then it was time to run. So
and you replaced James Gresham, Captain Gresham, with Stephenville Police Department, and he just recently retired. Congratulations, Captain Gresham, on your retirement. That's who you replaced on the board.
But yes, sir.
Yeah, I could have swore you've been around or been on the board longer than that. And you're right. You were also not just you can dive off into that. You were the committee chair for the scholarships for many, many, many years.
Yeah. So I attended my first conference in 2013, and Kevin Lawrence thought I was somebody's kid. And from that conference, has lovingly called me 21 Jump Street, or just Jump Street, every single time he sees me. Yes.
You do age well. I will say that. You do age quite well.
Yeah. Like I said, it's been a while, but yeah, my first conference was in 2013, and I kind of just wanted to see how I could get involved, and I jumped on the scholarship committee 2014, did that for a couple of years, and I was asked to take that over as the chairman, and then I ran it until I got on the board and handed it over to Bertha. And so I've been hanging around for a while and been around the board because, of course, before all the technology changes and COVID, we did things a little bit the older way at the time. And, so I was down at the office and, involved in some stuff, and then we finally were able into the 21st century and got it on the computer and everything else. But yeah, no, it's been a fun ride, and it was time to see if I could actually get out there and do a little bit more good, and so I ran for the board, and I got it, and have been having fun ever since.
That's what's so fascinating to me is our conference. There's so much really discussed and done at our conferences with the committees, the board of directors, just like your committee. I mean, we've got several committees that are selected there at the conference, and they're selected mainly because of the ones that attend, and you had attended the conference. Dive off into kind of what it feels like to be on the committee just as a member, because I get asked all the time, and I'm sure you do too, and Clint, about how you can get more involved with Tmpa, and that's one great way that our members can feel more involved about the decision-making process and who we are as an organization. And there's so many benefits too with being a member, and that's a huge part of it, I think.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I tell people too when they say, "Hey, I want to be a little more involved in Tmpa." I'm like, well, come to a meeting, or when you go to conference, sign up for something. Start out in the scholarship committee. They're always looking for people on that one because of the amount of work that one is. Yeah. Used to you would basically miss most of the conference. You were there, but you weren't able to pay attention. We finally got to the point where we stopped making all the physical copies and walking around with a tote box of scholarship applications, and then we even got to the point to where I was sending the flash drives out a couple weeks beforehand so they could look at all this stuff and be prepared beforehand so we could at least attend some of the training and actually learn something from it. And so that one was a lot of work, and a lot of people were turned off and not wanting to participate in the scholarship committee because of how much you missed. And I think we have a plan this year, or I say it's not my responsibility anymore, but I think a plan has been put in place this year where they're going to be able to make those selections like the day before the conference starts.
That's good.
And so they can actually not miss any of the conference and actually participate. But yeah, the other committees as well, legislative committee. Yeah. That was another thing that really piqued my interest, and so I was invited to come down to Austin. I dealt with this workers' comp issue back in 2016, and it wasn't as bad as it sounded, but I was screwed around by the doctor for a little bit in the beginning. It really ended up not being the city's fault. It was really just the doctor was not wanting to order the certain tests that needed to be done. Right. And so I was asked to come up, and we've been pushing workers' comp reform for how many years now. And so I was asked to come up, and I've testified in like House or Senate and stuff like that. But coming up and seeing those things and getting to meet the local reps like Drew Darby, which now I see him all around town.
He's always around, moving around somewhere. Yeah,
I might have yelled at him once, not realizing who he was, but the building was on fire. It's like, hey man, you got to get out. And then Charles Perry from Lubbock, the senator for that area, and meeting them was really, really cool. And again, it's kind of really like, okay, there's really something that can go on here. They're doing really, really good things, and I want to be involved with this group and do something about it.
And the ledge days that we were talking about, me and Clint, I always enjoyed coming down. This was before I was a field rep. That's kind of Clint got me introduced whenever he was my rep in East Texas. And man, what a good time! It's and there's been some discussion internally and externally with Tmpa about the benefits of Tmpa doing the Capitol days and the flooding the hallways with law enforcement, and what the benefit and what the non-benefit is that for us doing that. But man, it's crucially a part of that. And so there's been some discussion about bringing it back. So and it'll be up to you guys and the board of directors and our executive staff on whether that needs to happen or not. And but whenever I participated in it, I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed seeing the process. Really enjoyed to get interacting with the field reps. That was when, again, Clint was my field rep then, and we got to hang out. And anyway, yeah. So
and you always got to prepare the next generation. We try to tell these people at the local level.
You're right about that. Yeah.
We're not going to be here forever. Somebody has to be able to be willing to step up. Like,
but you're still 19, so it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
12.
Well, you got jumped in. You got jumped in after being a hang around.
Yeah.
At new board member orientation, did they tell you get jumped in, but to get out, you get jumped out also, right?
Blood in, blood out.
That's
right. Yeah. That's
great. At the local level, like I said, I jumped in super early in my career, but eventually I've got to pass that on to somebody else. I tried to a couple of years ago, like, okay, it's time for me to kind of give the local some free reign and go do my own thing, and then I've got back into it recently, and it's
sink or swim.
Yeah, it always
to
is. It always is. So
Cool. Who the hell is Zane?
Zane.
Who is
Man, that is a loaded question. It depends on who you ask. No, I've been a cop in San Angelo for about 5 years now.
Grew up there? Where were you born? Tell us about the day of. We don't want to hear about conception, but tell us about where you grew up and.
Yeah.
So grew up in San Angelo. My folks, my mom is from out further west. Met my dad at Sul Ross State University out in Alpine.
Oh, nice. That's
out
beautiful.
in God's country.
Shout out Alpine PD Chief Daryl Lohosa. I can never always pronounce his name incorrectly. Losoya.
You said it kind of sexy, but
It
it's
sounds
Losoya.
good.
Hey, I'll work on that at Atascosa. Go ahead.
They were at Sul Ross, got hitched. Dad started with Del Rio PD, and they lived in Sanderson for a while thereafter. And then it was actually at a conference. We were just talking about conference and hooking up and getting hold on.
Yeah, you were
Hold on
conceived
now.
at a conference?
Yeah.
A lot of Tmpa babies out there.
There are a lot of TNPA babies out there.
Making connections with other cops, learning, getting involved and all these other things.
They made a connection, all right.
Made a connection. Ended up, Dad went to task force, a drug interdiction task force out in West Texas.
He was a TFO. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, he was a field supervisor.
All right, throwing it out there. Go ahead.
He may need a moment and a
I
cigarette
know.
now that you said TFO.
He was a canine TFO supervisor.
Oh, man.
He was a super TFO.
Yeah, there you go.
And then that's when I come along a little while after, and they decided they didn't want to raise me in Sanderson, Texas. They wanted to raise me somewhere a little bit bigger, a little bit more access to things, and moved us to San Angelo.
There's some big deer in Sanderson, Texas.
I'm very aware. There's still a ranch with my name on it out there somewhere.
We'll talk offline.
Heck yeah.
I can get some deer hunting done.
We need to cold call Sanderson.
We do.
And been to San Angelo ever since. Dad was the cop there for 26 years.
Where did he work at? What agency?
San Angelo PD.
Okay. Yeah, same agency then.
Same agency, yeah. He
Wow.
was around from when John was coming up. I was, he bounced around within the department, ended up in training towards the end of his career with us. When I was in the academy, he was one of the instructors while I was there.
How was that? How was that being in the academy with your dad being the instructor? How did that feel?
For me, it was like going back to school.
Yeah.
My mom just happens to be the assistant principal at the
snap.
local high school
Oh,
that
wow.
I also went to.
I got you.
So it was pretty par for the course.
Yeah.
My folks were just kind of everywhere.
You know
when I
what's
was growing
crazy
up.
is San Angelo PD has so much history, really, with TMPA. We had the late Dick Brock that worked at San Angelo PD, our current deputy executive director, Mitch Landry, and then you. And then who else?
Johnny Rodriguez, Irma Rodriguez.
J-Rod.
J-Rod is
yeah.
past president for TMPA, and Irma, and Johnny's name is actually, and Irma's name is on this building.
Oh, wow.
It's on the plaque that's in the front that when he was president at the time, I believe, and then Irma was the Region 5 director. They used to have conferences in San Angelo. There's
Yep.
no way
Not
in
gonna
hell that we
happen
could
now.
have a conference in San Angelo anymore because
We could try it, I guess.
Yeah, no,
There'd
you're
be a lot of
doing that.
babies in.
your parents' definition of a bigger place than Sanderson. I mean, come on, like
Sanderson's about the size of an ant's ass, so
Yeah.
it's
the thriving metropolis of San Angelo will have to do, I suppose.
Yeah.
So my dad was a cop growing up. Did you know most of your life you were probably going to be a cop growing up? Did your dad being a cop? Or was it one of those? Because for me, I was not headed towards being a cop. I went in the Marines, and that turned me around. Otherwise, I would have been riding in police cars, not in the front seat. So I grew up around cops. They were in my house every day. My dad was a homicide detective. There was cops in my house hanging out, drinking beer every day. I didn't really think that was my path.
Neither did I.
Until I really woke up one day and thought, I better grow up and figure this crap out really quick. Tell me.
Yeah, that's about right. Same story, different chapter. Growing up, I thought I was going to be an academic. I thought I was going to go to college and grad school. I actually was a religious studies major of all things.
Wow.
I had the idea of going to seminary
Amen.
and being I wanted to do overseas mission work and stuff like that. Turns out they still expect you to go to class and learn things.
Yeah.
Even if you're going to work for God.
Yeah.
It's a minor detail.
Yeah, it was a minor detail, and I wasn't very good at that minor detail. Yeah. That wasn't really my thing. I would rather have a good story than make good grades, apparently. So college was a struggle for me.
How old were you when you got hired at San Angelo?
25. So I messed around a long time, trying to go to college and trying to get that degree. It wasn't until I moved back to San Angelo to continue trying to go to school that I really kind of made the decision that every male influence in my life growing up was a cop or cop adjacent. So how do I, you're trying to figure out your way in the world and where you're going to go. Well, I've got this guy and this guy and this guy that I trust, and they all work at the same place. Well, maybe I should do that, and then, dive in a little bit deeper and went straight to the police academy.
Did you put yourself through, or San Angelo have academy they put you through?
San Angelo's got their own academy. We have our own
Nice.
academy, so that's nice.
Went to the academy at 25?
Mm-hmm. And that was pretty par for the course for my academy class. We had a couple. I think we only had 2 or 3 that were 21.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Yeah, we had a kind of an older class. There were 5 or 6 of us that were in that 25 age, and then there was a couple that were a little bit older, but we didn't have that real old guy.
Did y'all require college back then?
No, and
No.
we still don't.
Man, I'm a huge fan of that, and I'll tell you why. I was the last academy at Garland that did not require college.
Uh-huh.
And so there was 30 of us, and we were all, what's a polite way to say this?
Street smart.
Street smart.
Yeah.
We'd all had multiple jobs. We'd all, been in fist fights before, and we'd lived life, been in trouble and been fired from jobs and had jobs and worked labor jobs. And I was the last academy class that didn't require it.
Yeah, that's
And it made good cops.
Yeah.
In our academies after that, we would sit on the review board, and you're interviewing a 21 or 22-year-old, and you're asking them, hey, there's not some job history here. Well, I live with my mom and dad. I've never had a job. And I'm like, all right, have you ever been lied to? You ever been punched in the face? Have you ever, sweated? Have you ever done any labor? Well, no, I live with my mom and dad. I'm like, oh, my God, you're going to get eaten alive on the streets working the East End.
Yeah.
And I'm no disrespect to a college degree or college education at all. But I think there's some value in life experience, street experience, that is missed. That is missed.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I didn't finish college. I was going to college to be a teacher and a coach. And I'm fortunate. I count myself fortunate. I was working for the school district at the time, driving a school bus, which back then $10 an hour was a lot of money. And it worked great with my college schedule. When I did my classes and did all that and set them up, I was able to drive the route in the morning and go to class, then go drive the route in the afternoon and go from there. And so I was like, well, great, I'm getting a jump start on some type of retirement system, right? And then I realized real fast because they asked me to step in and substitute for some classes towards the end of the semester once, and we were done with college for the year, and I had to actually, pretty much take over the class for the last 3 weeks of school. And I was like, yeah, this is not what I thought it was going to be, and this is not what I want to do. Well, then I had a crisis of, well, crap, now what? And do I just stay in college and finish and get that piece of paper,
Right.
and it's not going to do me any good, or do I switch it, and what the hell do I switch it to? And so I was a volunteer firefighter at the time, and dispatch was always hiring. And so that's where I started off and,
Oh, nice.
and jumped
Would
in
you-
at dispatch.
And this is y'all's opinion, I'm asking. We had Rhonda Lord on several episodes ago, The Godfathers. Check it out if you haven't watched that one. It's a fascinating episode. Probably one of the best reviews we've gotten so far.
Yep.
But would you consider having a college education a standard? Rhonda Lord nailed it, and he was speaking of this about law enforcement is trying to lower our standards to basically hit the recruitment crisis. And I got in an argument the other day with somebody in the labor world that considered having a degree a standard. And I said, I don't consider that a standard. how many guests have we had on? And we've had discussions of this time and time again about the benefits of working the jail, the benefits of working in dispatch, the benefits of having that law enforcement experience. Yeah. You can't put a price tag on that. And again,
military experience.
I am not downgrading or belittling anybody that has a degree, because you earned that piece of paper. But I will say this, and I'll say it. Tyler Irwin says this on this date at this time, that piece of paper does not train or does not make you a great employee compared to somebody else.
Yep.
That's just facts. I mean, it may have a requirement to go to other agencies, but so I go back to my question, circle back. Is that a standard or is that a requirement? And that was the question that I posed to the guy the other day in the argument.
Thankfully, it's not a state standard right now, because I think, if you're in East Texas with an agency paying $12.50 an hour and you're going to demand they have a 4-year college degree, so they have $85,000 in college debt, you're going to demand they have that college degree, and then you're going to pay them $12 an hour to pay that back. What
was the agency in Northeast Texas you just got through? Me and you both had to fight. What was it, $11.50 an hour? $11.75?
$12.50 an hour.
So for the listener out there that's in the Metroplex or in Austin, you can't survive on that.
And the judge told them they didn't really give a damn about them, and so we told them they should all mass resign and go to work for Buc-ee's and get a $5 an hour raise right now.
And I quote, that's exactly what Clint said.
Well,
anyway.
That's going on all over the place. It's the same thing, but no, the vast majority of it, since we don't require a college degree, there's a lot of cops that I work with that don't. We get a lot of the military guys.
Yeah.
We've got the Air Force base in town, so people
Yeah.
come through for training or whatever, and they like the town, so they stick around. They come back when they get out of the military. But there's goods and bads. I'm the only person in my family that doesn't have a degree, other than my dad. My dad and I are the only two.
Yeah.
And it's how, I think it's part of how you go about getting a degree. If you go to college and you live off mom and dad, and you don't have a job, you don't work, and
there's a difference in responsibilities as far as the pathways.
So the standard, having a degree as a standard, I would disagree with. I would, I worked manual labor jobs while I was in college, and then when I was like, I'm really actually done with this, and now I'm gonna go work 40 hours a week and try this cop thing one more time. And
well, thank God you did.
Yeah, it turns out I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of value in life experience that you can't measure.
There is. I mean, with a college degree, now there are some very good cops that have college degrees, and there's some very good cops that don't. I mean, it's just I regret it now. I regret it now not finishing college. I at least would have had a little bit different life experience.
Oh, you're in the club too.
But I don't have mine.
You regret not finishing. I regret not starting.
I would have liked to finish, but it just didn't happen.
I had a chance to go, and I got sucked into the vacuum of love with my wife. And
That's
so
pretty powerful.
Yeah, it was. And I didn't end up going. I had a full ride scholarship to Hawaii University, the Fighting Rainbows, and
she's benefited you better than a college degree.
110%. I definitely married up.
Free ride to Hawaii, though. I mean,
the Fighting Rainbows. But I'll say this: shout out to anybody that attended Irving High School or goes to Irving PD. We were in Euless, and this is a rabbit trail, but it's funny. Irving High School played Euless, and for those that don't know, Euless has a huge
Tongan.
Yeah, I was thinking of the national. They have a huge Tongan population in Euless, and for those that I want you to imagine being a 16-year-old kid. I was starting varsity on my sophomore year, and they did that dance.
The Tongan fight.
The haka.
I'm gonna tell you right now,
awesome.
It's intimidating as hell.
I wanted to cry and walk off the field and just say, "All right, guys, this was fun. We got danced or we got dressed up for nothing, but that was a horrible. We got our asses handed to us, and I think it was the mental aspect of getting that Tongan dance beforehand, and they were huge and fast. And anyway, so I didn't end up going to Hawaii.
They should play the haka in a briefing.
We should do it
before you go run a SWAT call.
Yeah, we should do it for conference.
Heck yeah,
get everybody pumped up.
I like it. The board should do it.
The board should do it. Yeah, I agree. Make it happen.
Well, we'll see.
Make it happen.
We'll see how that goes.
Anyway,
all right,
sorry.
Zane graduates Academy, hits the street.
Yep, hit the street.
What was that like? What year was that?
That was March of 2019. So, yeah.
Hit patrol deep nights? evenings?
I've been on deep nights. I did some training on we have like a power shift, a 3 to 3 shift. But other than that, I've been on deep nights. That's where I would like to be. That's where the fun stuff happens.
It's a good shift. Yep.
It's where cop things happen.
Yep.
Hit the streets in March 2019. So right when the world is about to shit the bed.
Yeah.
And COVID is about to hit. So March 2019, get through PTO.
Barely.
Yeah, barely. Barely. It was a kind of a wild time. Even in San Angelo, we had 4 murders in 3 days. Right there.
Yeah.
I was like 2 weeks on the street. One of them was a double. It was crazy. Running around, learning how to be a cop. I had good training officers though. I was quite fortunate. They were tough on me, but so were my supervisors at the time.
I mean, that's kind of the job.
It is the job.
Best job in the world, patrol sergeant. But
yeah, I've never been so tired than I was on PTO.
Yeah.
It was just mentally and physically.
And what you're saying is PTO is at the FTO?
FTO, PTO.
Okay.
Training.
it's just a different version.
It's the San Angelo way.
No, it's PTO it's another training program. It's just that's what San Angelo uses. But so FTO, I think that one of the biggest differences that I've seen is like FTO, you get an evaluation at the end of every day. PTO is once a week.
It's the same thing. I mean,
it's kind of
I got evaluated after every call.
which you should. I mean, that's the way verbally you
Take
are.
a
yes, but
yeah.
or hey, you didn't screw up that bad. It's only take half a lap.
So you're working deep nights. You start in March. At what point? How soon thereafter did your major incident happen?
So I graduate March 2019. It's 18 weeks. So I hit the street, get bumped to a shift that I've never worked with, the people I've never worked with. And then I immediately come back in November of 2020 is when I had my critical incident.
Okay. Was it on night shift or day shift?
It was deep nights. It was the first night back. It was our first night back after the Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay.
and the fog was so thick you couldn't see 5 feet in front of you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was one of those statewide fog nights.
I got you.
It was
late
bad.
late November statewide. I mean, it is from Brownsville to Amarillo,
Wow.
from El Paso to Beaumont. It is fog.
Okay. Walk us through kind of the call there before or thereafter, and kind of walk us through what happened.
So we were, honestly, what we were doing was me and my buddy were screwing off is what we were doing. It was right before midnight. We had just got done with Thanksgiving with our families, and this particular guy that goes with me has been one of my closest friends since we were in the 6th grade together.
Wow.
And both ended up being cops somehow. I guess the public education didn't do us too well. We both ended up being cops. And we're actually meeting up at one of the little hidey holes where cops have, and I take out a couple cigars and we're gonna give it a shot. Getting out of the car, and then as soon as I cut and I touch that cigar with the lighter, boom, noise goes off, tones drop, time to go, and we're hauling ass. 1016 in progress, because San Angelo still uses 10 codes. Domestic assault in progress.
Okay.
So lights and sirens response, hop in the car and go. And the way we were parked, I knew my partner was going to have to do like a 3-point turn to get he was driving a Tahoe. So I knew I was going to beat him because I had a Charger, and I'm pointed towards the exit. I'm just out the door. Said something about a knife. Stepdad was assaulting mom. The kid's calling in, or a child is calling in. And we knew right where I was going. I didn't have to look at the call notes, or I wasn't trying to read a lot of our call comments from the computer screen, because it's...
Had you been there before to that address?
I had never been there not to that specific address before.
Right.
But I knew where the street was,
right.
and I know how the block numbers work.
Right.
So I knew that it was going to be right there on the corner. Boom. I was like, once I go here, here, and here, good to go. But I'm trying to drive responsibly with... I don't know if anybody's ever driven in heavy fog with your light bar going.
It's worse.
Does the same damn thing you do with your head, with your high beams. It reflects back at you. It is terrifying, because you can't see anything. But somebody needs help, and we got to get there.
Yep.
So I showed up first, and there's about a 13 or 14-year-old kid at the front door. They're back there. It was kind of nonchalant. They're fighting back there, and I can hear them. Like, cool. Sit here on the front porch and wait for my partner. And it's like an L. I mean, you walk in the front door, you're in the living room, hallway goes to the right, and there's a door facing you. I'm like, oh, wonderful. I've got nowhere to go in this hallway except right there at that door. If that guy's got a gun, it's not going to be that hard. And I'm radioing to my partner, like, dude, where you at? Get here. Step it up. Whatever your agency uses, I was trying them all. Just get here. I already have my gun out. He comes in. He's like, all right, let's do this. I'm like, cool, because we've got a closed door, and we're going in. As soon as you say you're ready, we do. And so I kind of violated some policy and just kind of flying ninja kicked that front door, that interior door forward, and jump into this room. And he's sitting in a chair right there, just sitting there staring at me. It was almost like animalistic. He was just, you could see, just fight mad, just angry, pissed, and they've got a mattress on the floor, and the wife is sitting there. So in order for me to give my partner any room to come in, I've got to move into the room. So I moved down that working wall, and my partner's standing in the doorway. Wow. We have nowhere else to go, so this is where we're at. And they're just sitting there, just staring at us. And we're just like, something bad's about to happen. So I tell the guys, like, you stand up, go to the living room with my partner right now. And he kind of shifts, and he had his hand down by his leg in a computer chair. Well, when he shifts to kind of stand up, I see he's got a knife in his hand. And my partner sees it too. Excuse me. And so now it's drop the knife, drop the knife, drop the knife. And the only thing this guy says the entire time is, shoot me. Not screaming. He's not cussing. We're pointing guns at this guy. Drop the knife, and he just shoot me.
How far apart are you guys?
About the size of this room. Or about the size, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 feet. It's not a very big house.
And for our viewers, this room's a lot smaller than it appears on TV, clearly.
Yeah.
We hear that every day. So you are close.
Yeah, it's tight. If he decides to use that knife on me or my partner, somebody's getting cut. No doubt.
He's still sitting at that point?
He's still sitting, and so he kind of backs away. I guess kind of scoots in that chair and kind of backs himself up into a corner. So now we're about 6 feet.
Okay.
6 to 8 feet away from him. And he's still got that, and he's just sitting there with a knife in his hand. Shoot me.
How big is the knife? Is it a large knife or box cutter?
No, not really. I mean, a little bit bigger than a box cutter. It's like a paring knife.
Okay. I eat pears, so I know what a paring knife is.
Yeah, see? Clint, that's like our pocket knife size. Yeah, for you non-fruit drinkers, about like that. And so that was one of the benefits of having who I had with me, was my partner. He's my buddy. We were kids together. Now we're adults together. Now we're cops together. We didn't have to discuss anything. I could hear him holster his weapon and draw his taser. Okay, I've got lethal. He's got taser. And I see the dot on his chest. I'm like, okay, here we go. And Brad tased him. And he just sat there.
Oh, shit.
Both probes hit?
Both probes hit.
Light him up, Leroy.
And he just sat there riding the lightning?
He just sat there riding the lightning, and he actually started stabbing himself in the shoulder with that knife, trying to get us to shoot him. So, I hear the clicking stops. He holsters that, and I hear him draw his weapon. Okay, well, now it's my turn. Maybe he's got a bad lead or a bad probe or a bad battery or whatever in his taser, so I try to tase him. And I guess he didn't like that too much, because old boy just kind of did some wushu finger hold. I don't know, whatever, wax on, wax off, and breaks the line to the taser. It comes back and hits and wraps around my hand, holding the taser. So I kind of jump. I'm like, ow. I don't like tasing myself, but I knew how to stop it. So now neither one of us have a taser because we have the old
At the time, it was the X26.
X26Ps or whatever. One cartridge. No working. Oh, well, okay. So we go back up, and he...
And just for those real quick that are thinking, well, you could still drive stun. Well, by following up with the drive stun, you would be placing yourselves in that gap. That
I wasn't getting up.
Maintain. Yeah,
I wasn't going to get close enough to
we have a
drive
lot of
stun.
non-law enforcement listeners. I just want to clarify that.
Yeah.
What you're probably processing. We can't close that gap at that point because he's still armed.
Yeah, exactly. He never dropped the knife. When I deployed my taser, is when he broke the lead, the wire that comes from the taser to the probe, and he stands up, and now he's standing over his wife.
Yeah.
And he's got that knife in his hand still, and we're like, here, that's worst case scenario. So, you start adding pressure to that trigger, and your heart just keeps boom, 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 boom. It's stressful. You're processing a lot all at once really quickly. And so I just start screaming at the guy. Just start absolutely screaming. And he looks up at me and away from his wife. So I'm like, okay, well, there's one crisis averted. And then he takes a step towards me, so I move down the wall a little bit, but I feel my shoulder hit something. So now I'm like, well, great. Now I'm in a corner. I've got nowhere to go. And I'm looking, I'm glancing over at my partner, and I'm looking to where he's standing, where bad guy is, and then where the wife is. And I'm like, oh, Brad can't help.
Crossfired.
He had, the wife was behind the bad guy from where my partner was standing.
Wife was his backdrop.
So I knew that I was okay, well, here we go. And he zeroes in on me, and I tell him, man, I don't want to shoot you. And right after I said that is when he lunges at me. He makes just that last little effort that he's coming to me. So I fired my weapon and ended the threat. And then everything just fades out. Right after that, everything just you just revert back to base function. Holster weapon, secure guy, grab her, put her on the couch. Go back, everything's covered, cool. Come back out, make sure everything's covered, and then, it's almost like a daze. Like that you're doing everything that you need to be doing, but you're doing it automatically.
Would you say completely unconscious? You're just doing whatever training. You just completely reverted back to just training is kicked in, and you're not even processing what you're doing? You're
not even processing what you need to be doing. You're just reverting to training. You can actually see after I fire. We hadn't had body cams for very long when this happened. You can actually see my body start to process my scans that they teach us in the academy to check for threats. I'm in a room with 3 other people. This size, it's a bedroom. It's an interior bedroom in an older house. It's not very big, and you can see me start to do the twist.
Even knowing there's no other threats, training took over.
Training took over, and I'm starting to scan the room.
That's amazing, really.
Yeah, I'm telling you, in a super high stress situation, you're going to revert back to that training.
Did you know at that time how many shots you fired?
Not a clue.
How many did you fire?
Ended up shooting 4. Fired
and you
4
had
times.
No conscious effort of, okay, I'm going to pull it twice, or I pulled it twice, he's still standing, need to pull it twice more. It was just 4, you fired 4, not thinking, and that's what ended the threat.
Mm-hmm. Fire until the threat ended, and that's just kind of how I was trained. And growing up shooting guns and all this other, my dad being a firearm instructor for many years before he was a regular instructor, you revert back to that training. Okay, in the threat, that's what I did. Secure secure the person. Okay, now tend to that person.
So from the time you got to that bedroom door, reached the bedroom door, to shots fired, trying to secure her, in reality, about how long was that?
About 6 minutes, 23 seconds, if I'm remembering right.
Wow.
Total?
Total, from the call drop to shots fired.
No. From the time you entered the bedroom.
Oh, then I guess probably 3 or 4 minutes, maybe.
So the kind of the standoff in the bedroom is 3 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm. Not
So
very long at all.
It's fascinating, and for our listeners and people that have been through this and people that may be involved in one in the future, I hear two versions. Either that whole thing seemed like everything was slow motion and lasted forever, or it seemed like it was just a flash and it was just a small blip that occurred and it happened just like that, or that it was neither. But like a lot of times I've worked police shootings and guys will say, yeah, I could see my casing flying out of, or I could see the round hitting. Did time slow for you during that incident, and the stress? Was time normal appearance, or did it seem like the whole thing happened in 1 second?
No, so up until firing my weapon, everything was moving at a normal pace. Once I fired my weapon and after is when everything slowed down a little bit. The noise drops a little bit. I just, almost like if you were underwater and you're trying to listen to music, like you can hear that it's there, but you can't understand it.
So your auditory exclusion was kicked in pretty good.
Absolutely. Tunnel vision, everything. I knew what I was doing. And, when I go back and watch my camera later, I was repeating myself 3 times. Everything I said 3 times. I don't know why, but it was come with me, come with me, come with me, sit here, sit here, sit here. Go to him, go to him, go to him when I'm talking to different people.
But there's some value in that, because when people are under stress, the wife would have been under stress, anybody else there would have been under stress. They probably had some stress and auditory exclusion also. So ensuring they're getting that command 3 times is probably beneficial.
Yeah,
and whether that was trained into you guys in the academy, or whether it was just a noodle loop that was hung open and you were doing it 3 times, but making sure they hear it, it's kind of like giving a death notice. You tell that person several times so that they can grasp it and process it. Probably wasn't a bad thing that you were, whether it was conscious or so.
No, it was definitely not conscious. It was, I knew we got this guy in handcuffs. Okay. My partner's got him. Cool. She doesn't need to be in this room right now because this dude's probably going to die.
Yeah, or she may flip out now that you shot him,
Exactly.
and she may flip out and grab the knife.
She may be having a total come apart. She was not. She was very just, okay.
Which says a lot. Which says a lot.
Yeah, I don't think that may have been the happiest of marriages.
Yeah.
Is what I'm kind of saying.
At what point, and I've always wondered this, I watched the video the other day, I think it was in Chicago maybe, where the officer had to use justified deadly force, and he immediately is apologetic. He says, I'm sorry. Well, to the general public and the court of public opinion, they're immediately thinking, why the hell did he say I'm sorry? Because he's admitting fault. The reality is we're human.
Absolutely.
And at what point did you start processing, oh shit, I have fired my duty weapon. I'm now in a critical incident.
I actually called Tmpa. I've been a Tmpa member since I started, since the academy. It was actually John and Dick Brock that came out and gave that presentation and kind of convinced me to go to come over this way. Tmpa, the lady that answered her phone, God bless her, I can't remember her name. She couldn't have been nicer, more professional. Okay, well, is this the number? Yes, let me make sure I got your name spelled right. Okay. And you're in where? San Angelo, Texas. Okay. Well, hang up the phone, but keep it on you. You're getting a call in about 5 minutes, in the next 5 minutes. And I get a call, and I laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny then. I got a call. It was a Washington, D.C. phone number. Turns out the attorney, the Tmpa attorney, for whatever reason, has a Washington, D.C. phone number.
Well, that's where John Wolf is from, isn't it? He was a federal attorney in D.C., wasn't he?
No, he was. Well, I don't know about a federal attorney, but most actually don't know, and John's going to come on. Okay. His background is a DEA SWAT member.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so and now he's an attorney. So what better
Badass attorney.
I mean, badass attorney. So what better person to have represent our members? And he's a regional contract attorney, and we can talk about that in a separate podcast. Why our legal defense is better than others. But anyway, so how soon thereafter did John show up to the scene?
So he calls me and he's like, "Hey, I'm coming from Midland, and that fog has not lifted because you can't see anything. I'm standing in this front yard of this house and I can't see the street."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Whatever, man. This guy's coming from Midland." He goes, "Where are you going?" I was like, "To this address." He goes, "Can you text it to me? I'm already in the car." Yeah, I can do that. And we go and we get placed in the conference room at our detective annex just to sit and wait. My family has always gone to our ranch out there near Sanderson for Thanksgiving. And I came back early to work because I had to work that Saturday. I didn't know if my family was in town or not. I had no idea. And if they weren't in town, they didn't have cell service. It wasn't until, I don't know, probably 45 minutes that Dad came walking through the doors. And I was like, "Holy shit, you came home. Thank God." So I got to use my dad as my liaison officer with his wealth of experience to kind of help me through the process.
Yeah.
He never was in a critical incident over his career like most cops. But he was a detective for a while and worked the other side of it. So he kind of knew. And it's, it's kind of nice to have your dad around, not going to lie.
So how are you doing now? What are you doing with the San Angelo Police Department? How have you bounced back from that critical incident, and what are you doing?
Back up a little bit.
We got to talk about Mr. Wolf for a second there, because I don't know, from San Angelo to Midland's 160 miles?
It's right at 2 hours.
2-hour drive.
I mean, on a normal day.
I don't know how he made it in an hour-ish
Wow.
in statewide fog. And he sits down and goes, "Have the Rangers got here yet?" And I'm like, "No." I was like, Who are you?" He goes, "I'm your attorney." He goes, "My name's John Wolf." I'm like, "Oh, cool."
That's awesome.
He goes, "You know what happens when a trooper pulls you over when you're on your way to something like this?" I said, "No." He goes, "You got to do anything. It's great." Homeboy got pulled over flying on the Midland Highway in a thick fog by DPS. DPS, of course, was like, "What are you doing?" Tmpa lawyer going to San Angelo to an officer-involved shooting. The trooper, I think, just turned on his heels and
That's cool.
didn't say a word. So, shout out to Mr. Wolf. He was absolutely awesome.
He's a pleasure to work with because
Yeah.
you can call him at 12 noon or 12 midnight, and he's like, "Text me the address. I'm rolling right now."
Yep.
He did a fantastic job for me. To everybody with TMPA, I had a few different people reach out to me and just check on me. And it bothered me. It took me a minute to get right with it.
How long were you off work initially?
I was given initially 3 days. We worked 12-hour shifts, so 3 working days turns into 7 full days. And then when that was up, I didn't think I was ready to go back. So I was like, "Oh no, I want to go talk to the department shrink one more time before I go back." Because my thought process is, I don't want to have some sort of deep-seated trauma, get sent to another domestic, and just freeze up and get my partner hurt.
Yeah.
Good on you for having the intestinal fortitude to do that, rather than being like, "Well, if I tell them I'm not ready yet, somebody may think I'm a sissy, or it may not look cool." Good on you for saying, "I've had plenty of time off, but I'm still not certain that I'm 100% certain."
Yeah.
And I need to self-check myself.
What it
one more
was
time.
is-
because if you don't go back, which I did before, and you go back and you're a loose cannon, or you've got some unattended issue,
Yeah.
you're way more freaking dangerous than a suspect.
Yeah. And so what it was is I thought I was doing too well with it. I never lost my appetite. I never lost any sleep. I didn't, I was more annoyed because my cell phone just kept going off. It's a really good problem to have. I got a really good department with a lot of people who actually give a shit. So phone calls, text messages, all those guys I was talking about that convinced me to be a police officer by their actions. They're calling me, inviting me to dinner, doing this, doing that. Just checking on me. Coming by and just swinging by my apartment and just hanging out for a minute or two.
Did that help, realizing you had a big circle, that you had a tight family? Was that helpful?
It did. And San Angelo's always been pretty good about that. We get on each other's nerves pretty regularly, but we're a pretty tight-knit department. Excuse me. But so having all that, but I never had that, like when you watch in the movies, is, the guy breaking down in the shower or just staring at a TV with nothing on it. I never had that moment. I was just like, this happened. I did my job.
Let's move forward.
I should feel bad, but I should feel bad about this, but I didn't. And having my best buddy with me, and now we can't hang out until we go talk to the Rangers because we can't corrupt the investigation. Right. We can check on each other. And finally, what it boiled down to, I was like, man, I'm just worried about you. How are you doing? Because he felt like he left me hanging out to dry because he had the background. It's like, I don't feel that way. And he goes, well, I'm worried about you because, you actually had to shoot this guy and watch the lights turn out. It's like, no, what it boiled down to is if we quit worrying about each other, then we were both good. So, so I went back and talked to the shrink again, and there's some older officers in the department that I really didn't know that well that had been through the OIS thing, and I went and talked to them, and some of those guys really helped me out.
Yeah.
And get me through that, and I went back to work, and they're like, hey, why don't you ride with somebody for a week? Why don't you go sit with it, get in this person's car and
That's
just...
smart on them.
Yeah, it's pretty standard now. I don't know if it's actually on paper as far as protocol go, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to happen from now on. Yeah. Just to be sure, just in case you hit that one nerve and it hits the wrong switch in your head, and you end up standing there staring, which none of us want. So after that, I've just still back on the streets, still working deep nights, still working the same part of town.
Good for you, man.
Was that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Have you been back to a call on that street?
I've been to many calls on that street.
How was that?
I don't go to that corner. I either turn east or west before, because it's on one of the main drags of my area.
So you just don't drive by that specific corner,
I don't
but
drive
you go
by
to
that
street?
I don't drive down that. I don't hit that intersection right there.
Yeah.
Understandable.
If I can avoid it.
Yeah.
If something happens on the other side of the street and in that corner, well, so be it. But yeah, it's a little weary. I did drive near it, and I saw that they have a construction crew, so I think they're painting it, which I think will do better.
Yeah.
How old are you now, Zane?
I am 30 years old.
What would 30-year-old Zane tell 20-year-old Zane?
20-year-old Zane would be quit going to college. Quit wasting the money. He would say, go get you a job or go join the military. Go do something, but college is just not going to be your thing.
What would you tell a young man or woman, 20-year-old right now, that's watching this, that's really thinks they want to get into law enforcement, and your story's interested or inspired them? What would you share with them about what you've learned in the last 5 or 6 years?
Be prepared. Sometimes it is our job to show up to the worst days of people's lives. Be prepared to be the rock in that position for somebody you don't even know. And don't expect to be paid well for it.
It's good advice.
Yep.
Good advice.
But you can't take a thankless job and then get mad when nobody says thank you.
That needs to be on a T-shirt.
Where's Aaron Slater?
What would you tell young man or woman today?
if they want to do it, they need to pull the trigger and go do it. They need to, don't.
That may be a bad.
Yeah,
That might be a bad way to say
analogy.
that. But don't dwell on it forever. Because, like I said, I had that little crisis where I was like, well, what do I do? What do I do? Do I stay in college or do, and I mean, in hindsight, yeah, I probably should have finished. I had a full ride. I mean, I should have taken advantage of the money that was given to me through that scholarship and finished up and at least got a piece of paper. Some departments pay for it, some don't. It would have given me a little bit of a different perspective. I mean, I was halfway through. I had 2 years in. So, no, you have to follow what your heart tells you to do. And so if your heart's telling you to get into public service and to become a cop or a firefighter or whatever the case may be, do it. Or prepare yourself to do it, or get a job that prepares you to do it. I started in dispatch, and with the intent of going to the fire department. I was a volunteer firefighter at the time. I was like, yeah,
You're wanting to sleep the rest of your life.
Yeah.
He's just smarter than the rest of us.
Well, and of course I made the wrong decision, the right decision, honestly. But that was exactly what it was, though, is being in dispatch. I realized, I'm like, these guys don't do anything half the time. And we have a great relationship with the fire department in San Angelo. His brother is actually one of them. But I just realized, I'm like, I can't sit at the station. I cannot sit still. It's hard to be in a place like I was never one of those guys. I was not a parking lot cop. I could not just sit there all night. I had to be out there at least trying to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, then either prepare yourself for it by getting a job to get you ready for it when you're able to get into it. Because I was 19 when I started dispatch. You couldn't be a cop at younger than 21 at the time. Or go to the jail, do something to get ready for it, and then when it's time, come on over.
There was a post that I saw on Lamar Adopt a Cop, Lamar County Sheriff's Office, Texas Ranger, a local Lamar County child was sick and just his first day back is third grade after months and months of rehab and some medical situation. Well, they provided this kid a police escort to school. He'd been out for like 6 months, and the entire school. This is going to be to your point. The entire school made a big poster, and the slogan that the school came up with was "Shoot high and dream big," and it was to that child.
Well, and I think you made another really good point, John. If you're passionate about it or you have a heart to do it. If you don't have a passion to protect people, you got to be selfless because you got to protect the millionaire dude just like you're going to have to protect the crackhead that's getting beat up or carjacked. If you don't, and to Zane's point, we only see people on their worst day. If you don't have a passion to do this job, do yourself and the community a favor and don't get into it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because you if you're getting this job because you think, well, the pay's pretty good and I'll have I'll have retirement and I'll have medical benefits. If that's your desire to get into this life, this is not the life for you. You are doing a disservice to the community, to a police department. You're doing yourself a disservice. And towards the end of my career, I sat on some boards, and guys were like, well, the tech industry slowed down, so I figured, screw it, I'd get some good medical. And I'm like, you need to go somewhere else. You need to leave right now. Yeah. You got to have a passion. That's something everybody that comes on this podcast, there's a freaking passion for people. And that's a sad part, I guess, really, the sappy side of Clint is the misnomer about public servants and cops or stormtroopers and blah, blah, blah. And, man, the cops have the biggest hearts to go care and go see people on their worst day and defend the defenseless.
Yeah.
It's super important.
Well, man, you got anything else?
Rapid fire
time. Okay, you want to do it because I always mess it up, and I got a good feeling about Bellini. I got a great feeling about Bellini.
The error in your thinking is they weren't alive when cars were around.
No. I promise you there were some. I promise. And you'll understand.
All right, here we go. Best cop movie or line from a cop movie.
Ooh. How about a TV show?
Any cop show, cop TV.
Okay, because the greatest cop TV show of all time is Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah,
That's not bad. Yeah,
That's
that's
a
a
good
good one.
That's every single day.
I liked End of Watch. That was one of my favorites. Die Hard was a good one.
Yeah.
I like those.
Die Hard's probably almost number 2, I think.
Yeah, you'll get the other guys a lot. And honestly, the first time I watched it, I was like, I lost brain cells. And I was really upset that I watched that movie. And then I watched it again later, like a year or so. And I'm like, okay, now I can.
It's funny.
Yes,
Second and third time,
yes.
it's freaking hilarious.
Yes, the first time I was like, wow.
If people want to see, if non-law enforcement want to see a behind the curtain of what law enforcement is, the funny sense of humor, the camaraderie we have, the weird sense of humor we have to survive in this job. How one call can be nothing and the other call can be a complete train wreck. End of Watch, and I'm not saying it's 100% accurate. The camaraderie, the behind the scenes, like the curtains pulled back, 2 guys cutting up in a police car, the raw, the real, the bond, the families get together, the quinceañeras, and that's a great movie for someone. Kind of like Full Metal Jacket, if they ever want to see what boot camp was like. It's not 100% accurate, but boot camp's pretty close. End of Watch is a freaking fantastic movie. We don't get that one on here a lot. That's a great freaking movie.
Yeah. We've had it on here a couple times, I guess.
All right. Best police car. Chevy Caprice. Best police car.
Chevy Caprice, man.
No.
Dude, I've only been here. I've only been a cop for 5 years, man. That's what I think of when I think of a police car. I think of the Blues Brothers jumping.
That's the
through
old
the-
school
yeah.
Caprice. That's the big
Going through the
LTD
mall, chasing after the Blues Brothers. Yeah, that's the best police car.
What's the best one you've driven?
Between the Charger, the Tahoe, and the Explorer, I'm quite fond of my Explorer, actually.
I've heard a lot of good feedback on the Explorers.
I've had good luck with mine.
The current generation's pretty
current-
good.
yeah, the current
The
one.
older generation, not so much, but the current generation is actually a pretty solid car.
What's your
got the-
favorite?
Well, let's just list them. So, I've only driven a Tahoe for a couple shifts. I've never actually had one assigned to me, and by the time we started buying them, I had a take-home car, which was
Don't
an
play with me,
F-150.
Blaney.
Now, just hold on. No, we got
He's
to build
flirting.
up here.
He is.
So,
This is the letdown.
yeah. So
Foreplay.
This
We
is
got
you're-
foreplay
You're
going
cute,
on.
but you're not that cute.
So my first take-home was an F-250. That thing was a tank. Okay. I was Lake Division at
I
the time.
forgot they had the 250s.
Yeah, I was the last one that got the 250.
Anticipation's killing me.
Yeah, we're getting there. Then I got bumped down to a 150, which that was a little bit better. And honestly, I drove that thing for 4.5 years.
Okay.
Got a brand new one, promoted, went to sergeant, and drove a Charger.
Okay.
Okay, that thing was a piece of junk. Brand new pickup to old ass Charger, and it was terrible. And then I got my current Explorer, which isn't bad. But when I was a rookie, we had 3 Crown Vics left on the fleet. Okay, and there was 2 bubble tops.
Yeah.
And one that had an LED light bar, and there was only 3 of us that wanted to drive those cars, and that was the choice.
My man.
I mean,
I knew it. I felt it.
Absolutely.
My heart was there, but we were in sync.
We still have one.
we have one. It's a black Crown Vic that was the old gang unit. I got to drive that a couple times. It was a
Yeah,
lot of
they
fun.
brought it out for our drive training too. So I actually went in the academy, our drive training. I got to drive a Crown Vic.
It's got 300,000 miles on it.
No,
Probably.
actually less than 100.
Are you serious?
Well, it was
Oh,
the-
yeah.
Like I said, it was the gang car, and then for a couple of years we didn't have a gang unit, so it kind of sat. I drove it. They just kind of let the patrol sergeants borrow it as needed for a little bit, so I got to drive it a couple times when my piece of junk was in the shop.
Which is probably often was at the Dodge.
It was terrible.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
It was so bad. They took it away from me at 75,000 miles, which is about typical, or maybe a little bit more than normal for a take-home car. And they didn't even put it on the fleet. They just deadlined it. It honestly
says
was
something.
probably a limit. Yeah.
Send it to the crush.
Yeah.
Oh, it was bad.
All right, third question. Off-duty drink of choice when relaxing.
And I'm an old-fashioned guy.
Any certain bourbon?
Buffalo Trace is, unless I'm feeling froggy, feeling fancy.
Feeling froggy.
I'll pick something on that next shelf and the next couple shelves up.
I already know what Blaney's is going to be.
Well, yeah. I mean, the official drink of the Tmpa board is the old fashioned.
Yeah.
So
I will challenge everyone to this. I had to call him immediately after the next morning. I think it wasn't like a sauce morning, but like 6:30. A breakfast shot. Have y'all ever heard of that before?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess it just now made it to Wimberley, and I got to try it. So for y'all out there listening, the breakfast shot is the way to go. It is legit. You got anything else, big dog?
Nope. Like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends. Give us a review if you don't mind. Hit Google and give us a Google review. We would forever love you long time.
California just released the fact that they have, I guess, dissolved or they banned excited delirium for their autopsy reports.
Can't use those words.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Well, we're going to in Texas, and we are
Call it
trying to ED. We're going to try to get a doctor on the next couple of episodes to discuss and give their thoughts on ED. So look forward to those episodes too. You guys stay safe out there. God bless you, and as always, may God bless Texas. We're out.